Welcome to WiserReads, where we dive into the world's most impactful books to extract the wisdom that truly matters. Today's episode is about a book that shattered traditional self-help clichés and sparked a global conversation, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F by Mark Manson. This isn't your typical feel-good, think positive, chase your dreams type of book. In fact, Manson turns that entire mindset on its head. He argues that life is limited, and so is our capacity to care. So instead of trying to be extraordinary or endlessly happy, we should learn to focus on what's truly important and let go of the rest. Through a raw, honest, and often hilarious voice, Manson delivers life lessons on embracing failure, setting boundaries, accepting responsibility, and finding freedom in life's inevitable pain. His core message? You don't need more F's to give. You need fewer, better ones. In this video, we'll break down the key ideas from the book in a simple, clear, and thoughtful way. Whether you're dealing with anxiety, overwhelmed by choices, or just tired of chasing the next big thing, this summary might just give you the perspective shift you didn't know you needed. So, sit back, relax, and let's get into the unfiltered wisdom of the subtle art of not giving a f. And don't forget to subscribe to WiserReads, where reading less means understanding more. Let's begin. In the opening chapter, Don't Try, Mark Manson introduces the book's core philosophy, that trying too hard to be happy or great often leads to more dissatisfaction. He kicks off with the story of Charles Bukowski, a struggling writer who achieved success not by striving for fame or greatness, but by being brutally honest about his flaws, failures, and lack of ambition. Bukowski's gravestone reads, "Don't try." Manson uses this idea to challenge the self-help culture that constantly pushes us to always aim higher, be more positive, and chase success. Ironically, the more we chase these ideals, the more we reinforce the belief that we are not good enough. This creates a cycle of endless dissatisfaction. Instead of obsessing over self-improvement, Manson suggests a radical shift. Embrace your limitations, stop pretending to be something you're not, and focus on what truly matters. Real growth, he argues, comes not from trying to be better than everyone else, but from accepting who you are and choosing what to care about wisely. Ultimately, don't try means letting go of the pressure to always do more, and instead living with honesty, humility, and intentionality. True happiness doesn't come from striving for constant positivity. It comes from embracing reality, flaws, and all.
Chapter 2. Happiness is a Problem. In Happiness is a Problem, Mark Manson challenges the common belief that happiness is something to be pursued or achieved. He argues that pain and struggle are not only unavoidable, they're necessary. Life, by nature, involves problems, and our happiness depends on the quality of problems we choose to solve. Manson draws on the teachings of Buddha and modern psychology to emphasize that suffering is a constant of life. However, it's not suffering itself that makes life miserable. It's how we interpret and respond to that suffering. Trying to avoid pain or chase constant pleasure only leads to more dissatisfaction and emotional instability. He introduces the concept that happiness is not a goal, but a process. It comes from taking responsibility for our problems and choosing meaningful struggles. When we find problems worth facing, ones aligned with our values, we find satisfaction in the journey, not just the outcome. This chapter also critiques the toxic positivity promoted by much of the self-help industry. Manson argues that trying to be endlessly happy and avoiding anything negative
sets unrealistic expectations that make us feel worse in the long run. The key takeaway? Happiness comes from solving problems, not avoiding them. And since problems never end, the real question is, what problems are you willing to struggle for?
Chapter 3. You Are Not Special. In You Are Not Special, Mark Manson takes aim at the modern obsession with self-esteem and the belief that everyone is extraordinary. He argues that the constant reinforcement of this idea through education, media, and self-help culture has led to a generation that avoids responsibility, overestimates its importance, and feels entitled to success without effort. Manson explains that this mindset creates fragile egos and unrealistic expectations. When we're taught to believe we're special no matter what, we begin to think that we deserve rewards just for existing. But in reality, true success and happiness come from effort, failure, and learning, often through pain. He warns against both positive and negative entitlement. Positive entitlement is the belief that you deserve greatness. Negative entitlement is the belief that your problems are worse than everyone else's. Both distort reality and prevent growth. Manson urges readers to accept that they are average in most things, and that this is perfectly okay. Embracing ordinariness doesn't mean giving up. It means freeing yourself from the pressure of needing to be exceptional in everything. Ironically, it's often those who accept their limitations and focus on meaningful values who end up achieving truly exceptional things. The core message? You are not inherently special. And that's a good thing. Because when we let go of entitlement and embrace reality, we open ourselves up to real growth, deeper relationships, and more meaningful lives. Chapter 4. The Value of Suffering. In The Value of Suffering, Mark Manson explores a fundamental truth. Everyone suffers, but what matters most is what we choose to suffer for. Life is full of pain and challenges, but not all suffering is equal. Its value depends on our personal beliefs and values. Manson explains that our values shape the problems we accept and pursue. Good values lead to healthy, meaningful struggles, while poor values lead to destructive or meaningless ones. For example, valuing integrity or creativity might involve difficult but rewarding challenges, whereas valuing superficial success or approval often leads to shallow, stressful problems. He warns against common cultural traps such as materialism, status obsession, and instant gratification, which often cause unnecessary suffering without real fulfillment. These bad values push people into endless cycles of dissatisfaction. The chapter also highlights that we have control over our values, not necessarily our circumstances. By consciously choosing better values, we improve the quality of our suffering and, in turn, our happiness. Manson stresses that suffering is inevitable. What makes life meaningful is choosing what we care enough about to endure hardship for. Without struggle, growth and happiness are impossible. The takeaway? Instead of trying to avoid pain, focus on cultivating better values that lead you toward struggles worth having. This shift transforms suffering from something to dread into a necessary path to a more meaningful and fulfilling life. Chapter 5. You Are Always Choosing. In You Are Always Choosing, Mark Manson emphasizes the powerful idea that we are responsible for everything in our lives, even when events are beyond our control. While we can't always choose what happens to us, we can always choose how we respond, and that choice defines our experience. Manson introduces the concept of responsibility versus fault. He makes it clear that just because something isn't your fault,
for example, a traumatic event or unexpected loss, that doesn't mean you aren't responsible for how you deal with it. Taking responsibility empowers us to act, adapt, and grow. This chapter encourages readers to shift from a victim mindset to one of ownership. Instead of blaming others or external circumstances, we must acknowledge that our decisions, reactions, and values shape our reality. Manson shares real-life examples to show how some people grow stronger through adversity, while others stay stuck in bitterness, often because of how they choose to interpret and handle their pain. Ultimately, the chapter is a call to take control of your inner life. You always have a choice, even in moments of pain or chaos. And by owning that choice, you reclaim your power. The key message? Life will throw things at you, some unfair and painful, but how you respond is always within your control. Your choices create your story, so choose wisely.
Chapter 6. You're wrong about everything, but so am I. In You're Wrong About Everything, But So Am I, Mark Manson challenges one of our deepest assumptions, that our beliefs are always right. He argues that we're all wrong about many things, and that's okay. In fact, growth and wisdom come from recognizing and embracing this uncertainty. Manson introduces the idea that personal development isn't about finding the right answer, but about constantly questioning what we believe and being open to being wrong. Progress happens when we replace less useful or harmful beliefs with better, more accurate ones. It's a lifelong process of improvement, not perfection. He criticizes the need for certainty, which often leads people to cling to false beliefs or avoid new ideas. This fear of being wrong can keep us stuck, defensive, and closed-minded. On the other hand, accepting that we might be wrong opens the door to learning, humility, and deeper understanding. Manson also talks about how our identity can get wrapped up in our beliefs. But when we let go of the need to be right, we stop taking everything so personally, and that's liberating. The core message? Uncertainty is the path to growth. Doubting ourselves is not a weakness, it's a sign of emotional maturity. Instead of obsessing over being right, we should focus on being less wrong over time.
Chapter 7. Failure is the Way Forward. In Failure is the Way Forward, Mark Manson flips the conventional idea of success on its head. He argues that failure isn't the opposite of success, it's the path to it. Growth, improvement, and achievement all come through repeated failure and learning from it. Manson introduces what he calls the do something principle. Action isn't the result of motivation, it's the cause of it. Instead of waiting for inspiration to strike, you begin by doing something, anything. That small action creates momentum, which builds motivation, which leads to more action. Progress follows. He emphasizes that avoiding failure often means avoiding the very experiences that help us grow. People who accomplish great things aren't the ones who never fail, they're the ones who fail, learn, and keep moving. In contrast, those who fear failure often stay stuck, paralyzed by indecision or perfectionism. Manson also argues that embracing failure helps us develop resilience and emotional strength. The more we fail, the more we learn about ourselves, what matters, what doesn't, and what's truly worth our time and energy. Ultimately, the chapter's core message is this: don't fear failure, embrace it, because every failure carries a lesson, and every lesson brings you closer to the life you want. Chapter 8. The Importance of Saying No. In The Importance of Saying No, Mark Manson emphasizes that our freedom and happiness depend not on how much we say yes to, but on our ability to confidently say no. We live in a world filled with endless choices, opportunities, and distractions. But without clear boundaries, we risk spreading ourselves too thin and losing what truly matters. Manson argues that commitment, choosing one thing and rejecting others, is essential for building a meaningful life. Whether in relationships, career, or personal values, the act of saying no creates clarity and depth. Without limits, everything becomes shallow and unfulfilling. He also challenges the idea that more freedom always leads to more happiness. In reality, too much choice can lead to anxiety, regret, and indecision. True freedom comes from choosing what to care about and what to let go of. This chapter dives into how setting boundaries and embracing rejection, both giving and receiving it, is necessary for honest relationships and self-respect. Trying to avoid conflict or please everyone leads to weak values and a lack of identity. Manson's key message is simple but powerful. You must give up caring about some things to truly care about others. Saying no isn't selfish, it's an act of courage and self-definition.
Chapter 9. And Then You Die. In the final chapter, And Then You Die, Mark Manson tackles the ultimate truth: death. Far from being morbid, he presents death as the most clarifying force in life. By facing our mortality, we're forced to confront what truly matters and let go of everything that doesn't. Manson explains that much of our anxiety and emotional suffering comes from avoiding the reality of death. We distract ourselves with status, achievements, and shallow values, hoping to feel important or immortal. But the more we run from death, the more fear controls our lives. Instead, Manson urges us to use death as a tool for meaning. When we fully accept that life is short and unpredictable, we start to live more intentionally. Petty worries lose their grip. We stop wasting energy on things that don't align with our deepest values. The chapter also reflects on legacy, not in the grand sense of fame, but in the impact we leave on others. What are we contributing? How are we connecting? What problems are we willing to face today, knowing tomorrow isn't promised? Ultimately, the message is clear. You will die, and that's what makes your limited time so valuable. Stop trying to give a F about everything. Choose a few important things, give them your full heart, and let the rest go. It's not about living forever. It's about living fully, right here, right now. Thank you for joining me on WiserReads as we explored The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. This book challenges us to rethink how we approach life's challenges, happiness, and personal values. It reminds us that life is limited, so we must be selective about what truly deserves our attention and energy. Mark Manson's no-nonsense approach helps us embrace failure, accept our flaws, and take responsibility for our choices. By learning to say no, embracing discomfort, and confronting our mortality, we gain freedom and meaning in a chaotic world. If you're tired of endless self-improvement mantras and superficial positivity, this book offers a refreshing perspective, grounded in honesty and real growth. If you found this summary insightful and want more deep dives into transformative books that can change how you see the world, make sure to subscribe to WiserReads. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Share your thoughts in the comments. What part of this book resonated most with you? Remember, wisdom comes from reading less but understanding more. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing with WiserReads.